Hey guys, this is PODFIC, and today we're going to be reading 5 Times Jason Todd Didn't Swear and 1 Time Bruce Did by Boiler Boy But Derogatory. This is Chapter 2. Tim wasn't scared of Jason. He wasn't, really. The others didn't believe him, especially not the teen in question. But Timothy Drake was not afraid of Jason Todd. How could he be? He was his Robin. Tim could, and was, however, petrified of the Red Hood, of the toxic green eyes. Tim didn't know how to reconcile the two people in his mind. Now that he was starting to see Jason more around in the manor, it was getting harder to ignore. He was getting harder to ignore. His silence could be just as deafening as his voice. Bruce constantly stressing over either, and both situations could be dangerous. Tim couldn't stop checking his eyes sometimes. God, they were all messed up somehow, weren't they? Dick was different with them both. He was kind to Tim in a way he'd heard Jason swear he hadn't been before. With Jason now, he was either more blunt than anyone else, or more quiet, insecure. Somehow, Jason seemed to turn Dick to the most no matter what. Although Tim wasn't sure he turned to anybody most of the time. Overall, Tim tried not to think about it, but, like he'd said, Jason was around more. He wished he'd seen this coming. A photo was sent out in the group chat. Tim's phone vibrated with the notification, and he closed out of his very serious work. He was focusing on it, of course, not just drinking coffee, to look at. Bat kids. Dick, 11:45, 2 images. The photo was of Jason, partially obscured by the manor's kitchen counter. He stood by one of the stovetops, spatula in hand, wearing an apron. His face could be seen in a partial profile. His eyes, blue. They were blue, narrowed and tired. The second photo was of Jason, a blur. He was turned towards the camera, practically barreling towards it. He was still in the kitchen, still cooking, still in the apron. How the hell? Cooking. Tim's stomach rumbled. God, was it noon already? All of those nights of coffee and sleep must have caught up to him. Groaning, Tim tossed his blankets off of himself and moved, stopping with his hand hovering over the doorknob. That photo was sent 15 minutes ago, Tim thought. He might still be there. In his heart, Tim knew it was a stupid concern. He trusted Jason. He could almost consider him a brother. But everything was fresh, and apparently Tim didn't get to decide it for himself. A loud knock came from the door, and Tim surprised to jump. Before he could answer, a voice followed. I made waffles. The voice was scratchy. Jason. If you want any, come down before Dick eats them all. Tim nodded, then remembered Jason couldn't see him, so he opened the door, only for it to rattle when it bumped against something. Someone. Shit. Ow! You water-toted gallywag! Jason continued to exclaim a string of curses, while Tim just stood frozen in the doorway. Elizabeth Cady Stanton Seneca Falls Convention and egad were some of the words Tim managed to hear. How many rubber-ducking injuries am I gonna get today? Jason groaned. Dick called up from downstairs. As many as it takes for you to cuss for real. I thought you wanted me to start being cooperative. Fucking act like you are first. Jason didn't reply to that, just rubbed at his nose and sulked. I'm so sorry, Jason. I swear I didn't mean to. Tim startled, but Jason just waved a hand. Didn't you hear? I'm not allowed to swear right now. Don't tip me, Tim. The both of them paused. It was the first time he called Tim. While they weren't in front of Bruce, or having another rushed apology, it felt sincere for once. Tim smiled. Waffles, huh? And you didn't even burn down the house. I'm not that bad at cooking, Jason rolled his eyes. Unlike everyone else in this fishy house. Jason paused before looking Tim hard in the eyes. They were still blue, he reassured himself. Tim, He cut himself off with a sigh. Look, kid, I know I can't say anything to fix it, but if you'd ever feel comfortable having a real conversation, I'd really like to apologize to you for being an assuming butt. Jason paused, breaking eye contact, and Tim was worried that he was going to try and come up with some pitiful excuse. He wasn't sure he could face that, but when Jason looked up again, he just looked tired. I just appreciate it if you'd be willing to give me a little more time. There was a lot he wanted to say, but they both needed time to heal, and no conversation would end good in any direction until they were both ready, because Tim wanted to forgive Jason. Sure, Jason, Tim replied, smiling. Then his stomach grumbled. Do you want a list of cusses that, aren't cusses? Yes, please. Make them as horrible as possible, Timmers. How about, well, that just pickles my jar. Tim, don't encourage him. I beg you. No, Dick, zip it. Oh my God, Timmy, you are a blessing on this world. Alright guys, and that is the end of chapter 2 of 5 times Jason Todd didn't swear and 1 time Bruce did by Weather Boy but derogatory. I hope you guys liked it and I'll see you next chapter.